Heroes don't get any bigger, and movie podcasts don't get any smaller. Welcome, everyone, to Rule Thirds, your favorite tiny film podcast. Today we are reviewing Marvel's latest big superhero movie. I mean, big. Don't worry, those puns aren't throughout the entire thing. If Max doesn't bring them in,
You did it. You made a pun at the beginning.
But that was clever, and Max is never clever. There is the difference. Anyway, we're reviewing Ant-Man. Latest from Marvel, so obviously we're talking about it. We're big fans, and this is now the close of Phase 2. So much to discuss, and we're gonna have a fun time doing it. So until then, I don't know why I always do that. After the intro, my name is Sean.
My name is Larry.
And my name is Max.
And he is now in the same room again, finally. So yay, I can annoy him. You can't hear I'm poking him, it's funny. Anyway.
Come on, guys.
Cue the intro.
Let's bring this movie down to size.
Very nice, very
See,
nice.
I can sometimes...
Fine, you got some redemption. Good job, Max. Okay, so everyone, welcome back. And we're talking Ant-Man. So I want to get right to it. And,
Do we?
Well, I mean, I want to get right to... Well, actually, you know what? No, let's ask. How's everyone doing? I'm sorry.
I'm good.
I'm somewhat mixed with emotions because I've not eaten anything today.
Well, now I made him a nice tortilla ham.
Yeah.
So basically what you do...
Still hot.
Yeah. Basically what you do is you get some of the deli ham, you put it in tortilla, and then when you roll up the tortilla, you put a piece of string cheese in the middle, and then you microwave it, and the string cheese kind of melts, and it's really good.
Oh, wow.
Fine cuisine, I'm sure.
Sounds interesting.
But this is Bachelor Life.
Yeah.
This is Bachelor Life. It's
But
awesome.
the big thing is I found out that I don't think that Sean and I will be able to go to Disneyland.
Which is really heartbreaking.
It's really hard.
Yeah.
Made me so upset when I heard. I can't tell you why. It's actually... I'm actually in the NDA, but... I know.
What
come
a
on.
shame.
Yeah, but I did. But today marks a special day because I met Sean's mom, and she's lovely, and it brightened my day.
That's very nice. Yeah, she's here. She just got in this morning, and she's at a coffee shop right now. So we're gonna get this recording underway, so she can leave the coffee shop and we can hang out some more.
She can't have her coffee break. Something inside her.
When are we gonna meet your parents, Larry? I'm gonna just say it on the podcast.
Well, they don't like us. So.
That's right.
Well, it's not that they don't like you. It's
hate
that
us.
they
just
no,
can't. They
no,
I need to set something on fire.
They have actively made attempts on our life. Okay, they have,
because secretly,
anyway.
as we all know, it's like in Spy Kids. My parents are actually members of that spy organization, and they
somebody who would make that reference is somebody who probably has that situation going. So you pretty much confirmed it.
You bring it up, so it's like, haha, that's not real because I brought it up.
Guys, I'm a super spy. I've been hiding that from you for the last 3 years.
Yeah, because tomorrow you have to go to Colorado. Air quotes. You
secretly,
mean you have to go
secretly
assassinate
Guam.
some political leader?
Yeah, I have to go to Guam to assassinate this huge drug cartel leader.
Sweet.
Anyway, it's serious stuff.
Also in the studio with us today is Harry, the resident cat. So he is in the room with us and licking himself. What?
Harry?
Charlie. Just kidding. Harry's a friend of mine's cat. Braxton, tell Harry I'm sorry if you're listening.
Nice.
Braxton, I am so sorry you're listening to this.
Anyway, we should get going. It's fine. We should get going tonight.
What about Community? We're doing that
that's
first,
what I'm
right?
saying. We got to get into Community.
We will eventually get to a point where we're not going to say, we're going to go, and they're like, wait, what about the Community segment?
Well, we don't have much of a Community segment, because we don't have much of a community. We have one comment from Seth, and he says, actually, episodes 5 and 6, we're talking about Star Wars, had numbers in their original release, and it was added to money when it was re-released in 1980.
Well, that's what I said.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
I swear it was like Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back.
It was Star Wars, and then it was Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back.
Well, no, that was added later, but not right at the release.
At release, it was stabbed with Episode 5.
It's actually interesting. If you look it up, there's actually a Time article about it where you can read up on how
there's a Time article on Star Wars titles.
No, there was a Time article about how audiences reacted to the fact that Episode 5 was put onto the episode of The Empire Strikes Back, which people were like, "What?"
Yeah. Sequel subtitles are very interesting. We talked about this recently.
Yeah, actually, it's funny. Now with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 named, every single Marvel series has a different naming mechanic.
Except for Iron Man.
No.
Oh, yeah, that's right, the volume thing.
No. Anyway, that's a different discussion, really. We have other Marvel things to discuss. But Seth also said that Fox doesn't understand the internet, their handling of the leaks. So yeah, apparently they don't understand the internet. And SDCC Comic-Con is slowly dying of asphyxiation.
Asphyxiation. First off, that's dark. Second off, how?
Yeah, I don't know. It seems to be doing fine. And it was just confirmed for another like 10 billion years in San Diego.
So wait, asphyxiate, does he mean like too many people?
I don't
like
know.
Going?
Maybe.
Well, okay, that's a good. Well, when we think about asphyxiation, we should really stop thinking about asphyxiation.
Yeah,
that makes me sad.
but I mean, it does get really crowded.
I'm gonna tiptoe on this. I think what he means is that, let's see, it's so into itself that it's like going to destroy itself by not being more inclusive. It's probably completely off. I'm just thinking of like why people die from asphyxiation.
Okay, Seth, let us know what you.
Let's
meant,
stop
so Max
talking
can stop.
about
Yeah.
asphyxiation.
Let's get to the review.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get to what we thought of Ant-Man. I mean, we're all huge Marvel fans. This was built up a bunch. I saw this 3 weeks ago.
Freaking advanced screening guy.
But I got to see it again with Max, and we're going to share our thoughts now. Mm-hmm. So for those that don't know, we're going to do our thesis, like mini reviews, and give a score, and then we'll get into spoilers. So if you want to avoid spoilers, you can still stick around and hear our general thoughts, and then we'll get to spoilers.
You see, unlike Marvel Studios, we're not going to spoil Ant-Man for you just for the sake of spoiling it.
I am so glad I'm not following Ant-Man on Twitter. I am so
see, for
glad.
me, it was a promoted tweet. But
for me too.
It wasn't spoiled
not for me.
Because I got to go early. It wasn't spoiled for me. That was fun. Anyway. And don't worry, we won't mention what we're spoiling in case you haven't seen. Let's get right to it. Larry, why don't you kick us off? Because I know what Max thinks and I know what I think. I'm just very curious what you thought of Ant-Man. So
you know me. You don't know where I've been.
You don't know me.
Larry, why don't you give us your thoughts?
Yeah, all right. I'll cut to the chase. I really enjoyed Ant-Man. Quite a lot, actually. I'd say it's so much, it's probably either right below or on the very back end of my top 5 Marvel movies right now. I just think it's so funny, and not in the way that Marvel films are usually funny, in like a totally different way, which I'm totally welcome with. I think the cast is excellent here, and the action is probably some of the most unique we've seen from Marvel, and because of that, I think it's some of the best. And I don't think a lot of people are giving Ant-Man enough credit for just some of the smart things it does with its character parallels, which is especially with Hank Pym, and I'll get to that later, but I think that character is so fascinating in how he's incorporated into the whole thing. It's also a good lesson on how to integrate itself within the MCU without being annoyingly unable to function. So I am going to give Ant-Man an 8.5 out of 10. Really enjoyed it, and I recommend it wholeheartedly.
All right, I'll go. And Max will be the finale.
Finale.
Ant-Man is fine. And that's not... that's the phrase I kept coming back to. That's not a phrase I've ever used with a Marvel movie, because there's always been something, some sort of edge, some sort of thing for me to grab onto that makes it, like, worth more than its... maybe the value of its own merits. You know, like there's always something Marvel, that there's like some Marvel magic. This movie doesn't seem to, I don't know, pack that punch. There's no edge to it. There's not much that's, you know, blatantly wrong. Certainly not a bad film. It has some very good comedy, and Paul Rudd is very likable, but a lot of it's very standard. It's stuff we've seen before, and I'm glad this is the last origin story, because a lot of the origin story tropes do make an appearance, and that hurts it a bit. But it's just, it doesn't, for some reason, just doesn't have the punch it should. It's fine. I kept coming back to that, which really bothered me. But Ant-Man is fine. So I'm going to be giving Ant-Man a 6 out of 10.
All right, Max. Let us hear it.
First off, thank you, Sean, for that lovely...
Yeah, I just hear Max in the background going like...
I'm glad I was able to eat that whole thing before, because now I get to use my brain for the first time today.
Nice.
Ant-Man is a great example of how impactful the collaborative part of the film medium comes into play, because even with some of the most imaginative and interesting and well-designed action sequences of any Marvel movie in the Marvel Studios canon, and some genuinely funny humor, everything that Ant-Man did right was so bogged down by how everything else was. I mean, forget, like, the comedy is a bullseye, and some of the character stuff is solid. But for the most part, the movie is just a cheap-looking, ugly, flat, just not, like, very standard kind of thing. Sean and I agree on this statement when we say that Marvel, seems like Marvel's coasting a little bit with this one, which is weird. And though I don't ever want to talk about a movie's quality being tied into whether or not it should exist, I'm wondering if this really should have stuck around after Edgar Wright abandoned it. Because, with all due respect, and this sounds very negative, but The parts it does well, it does very well. But everything else, like, it's a functional, not bad at all movie that is just, I don't know, it just misses a lot of that Marvel magic, which is why it gets, from me, and this might be a bit of a shock, a 6.5.
Oh, wow. I thought you were more
the
negative
good
than me.
parts stuck out to me a lot more than the parts, so that's just,
Yeah. And just for the record, I'm kind of on the fence of 6.5. So.
That freaking post-credit sequence
We'll get there.
was
We'll get there.
stupid.
We'll get there.
Stupid.
Shh, calm down, spoiler section.
Okay, fine.
So, as you can see, we're surprisingly a little split on this. So
we all think it. What? Wait. Do you guys not recommend it?
no, it's definitely not a bad movie. If you're a Marvel fan, it's like you're gonna see it. Like, we're not gonna stop you, but don't let us stop you. It's enjoyable. It's a perfectly fine way to spend those few hours and your money. It's just, I don't know. It doesn't have as much to offer as other Marvel movies, in my opinion. So don't go in with exceedingly high expectations, but I think you'll have a good time. And also, we're in the minority here, so if you see it, you'll probably like it a lot. So go ahead and see it.
Yeah.
With that being said, I think it's time to start spoilers.
Spoiler talk. Warning! From this point on, it's spoiler talk.
Put
so
up the yellow
get out while
tape,
you
guys. Corner of the area.
Yes.
Spoilers.
So I kind of wanted to start this with, it's a big thing to tackle first, but it was kind of, the film just throws this at us right away, and that's characters. Because the film doesn't even have the logos or anything until it slams in with Hank Pym. Like, we get Hank Pym immediately.
Yeah,
honestly, I was really taken aback by that.
We got Hank Pym, we've got Haley Atwell, which is a very nice surprise.
Agent Carter, we got the freaking, what was it, Rob Stark? No.
Yeah, Mr. Stark, Tony Stark's
Howard Stark.
Yeah. So I kind of want to just, let's start with the characters, because Marvel definitely emphasized its characters. This is Ant-Man, so it's clearly about Ant-Man and the previous Ant-Man, and that's kind of where I want to start. I want to start with Hank Pym, and then we'll transition into the current Ant-Man, which is Paul Rudd, and just kind of go from there. So, Larry, you seem to really like Hank Pym.
I do. And, as I was listening to your little theses, I won't say he's particularly anything drastically new or anything like that. But I just think Michael Douglas is giving a really good performance here. It's not overdone. It's played with just the right amount of sort of, I'm in it, but I'm not too into it. And I also really love the way his character sort of parallels with Paul Rudd's. But more specifically, I really like his reasonings for Darren Cross, him and Corey Stoll's character.
Yeah, that was actually a dynamic I wish they had more.
I know. When I heard that great line, I
good.
saw too much of myself. That is, in my opinion, when I heard that, I was like, that is a brilliant connection.
Yeah, actually, if I may step in, I agree. Hank Pym is my favorite character in the movie.
Because it's just, I don't know. You know how some performances have that sort of just likable quality, that they're not totally overdone, but they just sort of, they're there, and they have good presence. That's what Michael Douglas is. There's this, there is a presence where you can, he pulls off the whole super genius very well. Yeah. But there's kind of a sadness that comes with it. He's not an arrogant super genius. And most of it is kind of the weight of his invention leading to the death of his wife and isolating his daughter. And so I think they really got the idea across that he's actually suffered a lot because he is so smart. Correct.
And this is his chance to make sure that his genius doesn't hurt people. Like, that was good. That came across really well. He was a very likable character, but he wasn't, he wasn't the standard, like, he's like the opposite of Tony Stark, where he's like, I'm brilliant, I'm going to throw it in your face. Genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist, He has fun with him being so smart. Hank Pym is the serious side. He has that, he understands responsibility. And Michael Douglas really pulled that off. Let me put it this way. The line, Michael Douglas as Hank Pym pulls off the line, "How's your face?" He pulls that off. That line, "How's your face?" I mean, that's a good performance if you can pull off "How's your face?"
Yeah, I like how I like that point that you made about him and being the opposite of Tony Stark. He knows what happens when you go too far with your abilities.
Right, and Tony's going to get there, hopefully.
I think he sort of did.
I mean, after Ultron, you'd think he would.
Well, not even after Ultron. He did have that sort of kind of, like, oh man, I went through something terrible, like with Iron Man 3.
Yeah,
but like it didn't hurt him physically, just sort of mentally and emotionally.
Right.
One other thing before we move on from Hank Pym, I just think it's brilliant how they incorporated Ant-Man into the story of the MCU. I like that, and I am a big, pusher of be self-contained, and I want to make a point about how Ant-Man is self-contained later, but I like how Hank Pym is sort of around the same age as, like, Agent Carter or Howard Stark. They decide to put Hank Pym as an older character.
Yeah, it's funny because Hank Pym is one of like the original Avengers, and so it's cool that in the MCU, even though they jumped to Scott Lang,
he's still there.
He was Ant-Man. He was around near the earliest.
He wasn't. I was about to say he was the first Avenger, but he wasn't. Still.
Well,
he was the second Avenger.
Yeah,
pretty much.
There's your title.
Ant-Man, the second Avenger.
Reed has said that he wants to direct a Hank Pym movie, and it would be Ant-Man, the second Avenger.
Perfect.
Anyway, Max,
also, the Wasp is awesome. I love how they incorporated that too. Sorry,
yes. Max, what do you got about Hank Pym?
I didn't find him particularly interesting.
We were on a positive. We were on positive.
I know. Listen, I don't even know if I have a favorite character in the movie. It just Hank Pym comes off to me as like this really like cynical, grumpy old man as opposed
I
to
disagree.
Like this
I think
brilliant mind and stuff. Like he has some great lines. Don't get me wrong, but his character, I can't. Okay, he is I think the reason why is because he's a vehicle for one of my biggest problems with the movie, which has nothing to do with this section. So we'll get to it later.
No,
but,
it's fine. I think I know where you're going. It's a good transition. Go ahead.
I'm going to quote this in the style of an internet icon. There's so much god dang talking in Ant-Man. There's so much.
Okay, that wasn't where I thought you were going.
Yeah.
Okay, save that note.
That's what pretty much takes the movie from really good to almost like to just good. Because like this movie is just so much, it's so expository and just so much.
Hey, we're going to get there later. Max, calm down.
Here we go again.
I told you, we're going to get to that point.
Oh.
I just said it 30 seconds ago.
And also the fact that he's like so mean and whatnot to his daughter. The whole father-daughter relationship is so botched. Let's
transition. This will be a good transition. I really don't like the cliche of I was doing blank to protect you.
Yeah.
It's overdone, and it's always an older male character protecting a younger female character, whether it's love interest or in this case daughter or something, and it bothers me. And why? Just a quick little shout out: The Flash, the CW show, had an episode that was like dedicated to why that argument is really stupid, and I really applaud them for that. But this movie does that. Where why doesn't Hank Pym let his daughter suit up as Ant-Man? It's like, to protect you. It's like, nah, it's overdone.
Plus, his wife gets fridged.
Yeah,
so that's
I don't mind it. I mean, I understand that. The relationship between Gwendolyn Christie, who in my opinion does an okay job here, along with Hank Pym. You guys don't.
Evangeline Lilly.
Gwendolyn
Christie would be Bran of Tarth.
Dang it!
Bran
I got it wrong. My bad. Sorry. They're both really long and fancy sounding names. Okay. But I think she does okay. I think their relationship is it's definitely one of the least well executed aspects of the movie, and I do admit it does sort of take away from where the movie really gets going, like with the action scenes and all that. But I don't really mind the whole protection thing, especially because I like Hank Pym.
Yeah, but still, I can totally in the story, I get his reasoning. Like, I understand the character. Like, because of his wife was suited up with him, she died, and so he doesn't want his daughter to suit up.
And the whole movie, we keep seeing so many great examples of how awesome Hope would be as the ants person.
Right.
And
here's what's actually kind of funny. Max, you said there's nothing meta in that movie. I honestly would say, again, I thought Hope was a fine character, and part of what made her interesting in the bigger MCU is that the entire movie was, I should be the superhero.
Oh, yeah. I actually did figure this out.
Why I'm better.
Oh, my. Did you guys not realize that? This movie is so meta about that.
It's just like commentary is in like, oh, this is a thing we do. It's not actually like it's not making bigger points.
And there's the thing. I that really sunk into me with the post-credit scene.
Yeah, exactly.
Where the Wasp suit is shown, and what does she say? It's about damn time.
Yeah, it's about...
It seems like there's a tiny bit of meta where it's like, hey, maybe we should start having female superheroes.
Well, why did you wait? I was hoping that the Wasp would come in at like the freaking climax of the piece.
Yeah, that would have been cool.
Like, the suit's not done. That's why.
Oh,
well, okay. But anyway, so that's all we're saying. That's. Are we good with Hope? She was solid. You need to do more.
Solid.
No, I just don't like
Marvel.
Just that whole relationship between her and Hank Pym is trite and just like it's so not only happy.
And I wish her response wasn't so understanding. I was hoping that her response would be like The Flash, where it's like, "That's stupid, Dad."
Yeah,
like I get it. I'm glad you care about me, and that's why you're doing this. You're not trying to screw me over. It's because you care. But come on, I can handle this. And I hope she would have suited up with Scott for the climax. That would have been better.
Yeah.
But to transition, let's talk about Scott. Because we'll get to the villain, but those were like the only four characters, really.
Yeah.
We'll talk about Michael Pena with Scott, because those are really the only characters of note. So, I love Paul Rudd.
Oh, yeah, he's
Paul
great.
Rudd's great.
I mean,
He's great.
I was introduced to him
Awesome.
through Friends.
This is awesome.
I was introduced to
really?
him through
Through
Friends.
Friends?
Yeah, because like I didn't really
Anchorman for me.
right, but that was like an R movie. And, like I didn't see R-rated movies for a while, but I saw Friends.
No,
really
I watched
close.
Anchorman like 2 years ago. That's
Oh.
how
I
recent.
don't remember where I saw him first.
Well, anyway, he is very likable. And in
Extremely.
person, I just want to say he was really funny. He introduced the film at the advanced screening. He did a literal mic drop afterwards. He just dropped the microphone. It was pretty
Of course.
funny. So I liked him here. He did feel like the Marvel hero.
Yeah, the very generic Marvel hero.
I mean, yeah, like maybe that's why the movie didn't hit as well, because everyone kind of has brought up like Tony Stark's overdone. He's doing the quips and he's the boom boom pew pew, shooting out the shade and hair flip,
Shooting out
there's
the shade.
always like Iron Man 2 especially, he has this darker side of his ego always comes in. He had his like mortality issue. He had this post-traumatic stress disorder in Iron Man 3. Age of Ultron, he had the whole guilt of killing the Avengers, even though he didn't actually do it, but all that. There is a darker edge to Tony Stark that I think is overlooked by a lot of people, which is what I think pushes the character better. Scott doesn't really have that.
Yeah, Scott has one of the weirdest character motivations. Not weird, most flat. In that
but
something
also
bad happens to his daughter, so he's like, I'm just going to go back to crime.
It's
like,
funny. Everyone says that it's like the most human Marvel story. I'm like, yes, the motive is like the most down to earth, where it's just, I want the respect of my young daughter. Like, that is definitely the most down to earth. Like, we're not talking about my mortality and I'm not strong enough to save it. Like, that's very big. That's very comic. This is just a father wanting to be the
That's
hero.
very big, and this is not a
This
big
is
movie.
not appropriately for Ant-Man. But when people keep saying that, I'm like, well, that doesn't mean it's done exceptionally well. I think it is a very one-note motivation.
And just like immediately, the second there's like conflict, he's like, okay, I gotta go back to crime. Even though he kept telling us, I'm not going back. I realize it's a part of his character, but it's just too little convincing to tell me that like this is kind of like what happened to me with Snowpiercer. The character psychology is all weird, and it doesn't really fit together all that well.
So that's the thing. Like, I think Scott Lang is a very likable,
Yeah.
totally functioning hero. Paul Rudd gets a lot of great laughs. He's a great actor. I just think the character is a bit flat.
Yeah.
He needed an edge. Just, you know what? That's a good way to think of it. Just like the movie, this Ant-Man needed an edge. Whether it's the movie, the character, I needed that edge, and I didn't get it.
Yeah.
He's a thief.
There's a part.
He's literally he's a professional criminal. Where's the edge? Like, look at Winter Soldier. He's all messed up in the head because he's an assassin. Like, Scott's not an assassin, but give us some edge. He is literally a professional criminal.
It's interesting. There was one part in the movie where like it was a fight between Yellowjacket and Ant-Man. Ant-Man says and Lang says something that's like very not of his character that I thought would be really cool. Like how I can't remember exactly, but he says something that like sounds very intimidating, very like powerful and I thought that would be a great thing for him to have when he's facing his Yellowjacket, and he just never mentioned it again. Maybe I'm crazy and that was actually something that Yellowjacket said, but it sounded like Ant-Man. It gave me this impression, oh wait, maybe he's kind of embracing his like more aggressive, more like criminal side in order to beat I don't know.
Yep, doesn't have an edge. Larry, what did you think of the character? Sorry, we've been kind of talking over you.
Yeah, it's fine. I have a bad feeling that about half of this review is just going to be Shaw. Well, I thought this, and Max. Well, I thought this, and that's why this thing was kind of not so good. And I'm just like, I thought it was fine. I don't know. I think a lot of what you're saying kind of ties into this. One of my big points about the movie is that it takes a little too long to really get going about of its really good qualities. In my opinion, I think the last hour of this movie is like fantastic. I think it's just some great stuff. But
yeah, we'll definitely do plot next.
Yeah, but I think that like a lot of the things about this film that get established in the beginning do kind of feel, hey, no, we've seen it before. But I think the film is likable enough.
Oh, it's a very likable film.
Yeah, which in my opinion, if a film is likable enough, I can overlook the fact that maybe it's cliche. Also, maybe it's just me. My expectations for this movie were a bit lowered considering it went through this sort of mini production hell moment once Edgar Wright sort of stepped out. So I wasn't really expecting something as cohesively well executed as it was, in my opinion, towards the latter half of the film. But again, going back to the topic, I really like Paul Rudd. I think he has some wonderful lines in this film. when he ruins the moment for
I think that was a bit.
He just has that thing. He's like, I'm gonna go make some tea, and he just kind of goes there.
I like
great.
that because it's not like he doesn't say something awkward. He just like wants to be a part of like this moment. He's like, this is awesome. This is so great. Like I can see that. I can see myself doing that. So I liked that line. I just wish more of it was elaborated on. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, since we're talking comedy, do we want to go to Michael
Can
Pena?
I just say one thing though to combat what you said about that? There's no edge about Paul Rudd. I think the edge is that there is none. Because
that's not a good edge.
I know it's not a good edge, but I mean, think about all these other
no edge.
I mean, all these Marvel heroes are pretty polished in just how they go about themselves and how they do things. And then Paul Rudd isn't. He's this really bad guy.
When you say that, Larry, I do realize I'm really excited to see. Like, I think Ant-Man is a great role for the Avengers, where it's like just the good guy. Like, he's not like Captain, where he's like stuck in this new world. He doesn't have this ego. He's not like Hulk. He doesn't have a dark past like Black Widow. He's just kind of the good, fun-loving guy.
Well, yeah, maybe that might be something that's played on in Civil War. He's Cap's all like,
that character is going to
stand Stark, and Falcon's like, I gotta be with you, and he's like, and Falcon's like, I gotta match your back, and Paul Rudd's just like, and Scotland's like, whatever, I'm just down for the party. I'm just, maybe not down for the party, but like, I'm just here to have fun.
Yeah, I'm just excited to be here.
So I think that's the edge. I think the problem though is that because he is the weight of this movie and he is the main character,
exactly. That's awesome
really
in a group dynamic,
right?
But this is him leading his own movie. I think it comes across as too kind of safe.
Yeah,
but we should move on. Michael Pena, really quick, kind of.
He's so funny.
He was really funny.
He's so I love that thing about the abstract expressionist thing.
Yeah, that was a very funny.
No, okay. I was thinking about this.
By the way, that's a Rothko that he's looking at.
Is that not kind of like just basically saying, "Oh man, the Mexican"?
Oh
likes
yeah, no.
the
I actually kind of had that too. I'm like, am I laughing at this joke because it's like. They're not classy. Like, I don't know. That kind of made me feel.
Well, I think it's more so just the fact that he's a criminal and he does really bad things, but for some reason he's into wine tastings. Yeah. You know, it's like.
Anyway,
I will say that his sequences kind of felt and were ripped directly from Edgar Wright's style.
Oh yeah, man! I totally am with you there.
I want to talk about that at some point because I think I found.
We should mention it towards the end,
but just. Really funny. And on the side note, while we're talking about the comedy, love the Baskin Robbins joke. It was a great way to open it. Like
Baskin Robbins,
best product placement you could possibly have.
Yeah. So I would just say Michael Pena is funny. He's a one-note funny, but he wasn't overused.
Yeah, he was not.
Exactly.
Like, the one-note funny isn't a bad thing if it's not overused. That's like in comedies. That's why side characters, if they come up too much, they cease to be funny. They didn't overuse them. So we get to move on to the villain.
Oh yeah. Corey Stoll.
Corey Stoll from House of Cards fame. That's now he's well known.
Yeah.
I think. Can I just start here because I think I'm in the minority. I really like this villain.
I like him too. I think he's good.
Not a great character. Marvel is yet to like really nail villains, and Max and I had a long discussion on why. Way too long for here.
Loki.
Yeah, I like this villain. That's basically just. I don't know. We don't have this ambitious character. This kind of crazy ambitious villain. Like he's not a conqueror. He's not sadistic. He's just pretty immoral and just is wanting to take whatever he wants. Like, it's a different type of villain for the MCU, and that kind of ties into the fact that this is a very low-key movie, so a villain wouldn't fit if it was like, I'm going to conquer the world and you can't stop me, Ant-Man.
Well, even though it's touched on, like they...
Oh, a tiny bit, yeah. Whereas, like, sell it to Hydra and all that, whatever.
Right,
but, so it made sense that it was a smaller motivation for the villain, where it's just, I want to be stupid rich. Don't steal my suit. That's going to make me stupid rich. That's pretty much it. So, and it's a little bit of the vengeance because Hank kind of spited him, but yeah.
Yeah. I think the quick thing I do want to say about Stahl is that I think the idea that the suit messes with his brain chemistry was an interesting idea. I don't know if they really worked on it enough for it to work. Is that what
happens? Did I miss that?
That's what they say. That's why he is about to shoot him. Yeah, it's not explained well enough. It's not really elaborated on for it to really work. I will say, I think Stoll is a good actor. I think he has good presence. I just think this villain is a little all over the place. I think at times he's cruel. Other times he's crazy. And yet other times he's cool and collected, but not
a bit more refined. But I understood the core of the character well.
Yeah, and I think Stoll's performance is enough for it to work. I liked his performance.
Not so much, Max.
No, I was like,
Max, you're so negative today.
I don't want to be negative. I'm just being honest.
That's true.
This villain was like just so two-dimensional, and like all of his lines are just so like, okay, this is a new low, like, okay, not a new low, but it's pretty low even for a Marvel villain.
Malekith.
Fine, no, but see, Malekith was just like a non-existent thing. Like this guy, all the time, he's getting a lot of time on screen, and like, though he's introduced as a pretty bad guy with killing the goat, and
the guy,
and the guy too, yes, but like, you killed the goat, you horrible. Like I enjoy how that comes in, but like, he goes way too crazy at the end. Like, it's not even like, you know, he just keeps explaining his character motivation on repeats, like, you for, you know, you're his actual successor, not me. Like, just again and again, and it's really just, it feels so redundant and just perfunctory and really, really not interesting. Like, this character is just like evil, and not in like the classical kind of way.
Right, and you know, I just but
when you say that, is amazing. Suit's
awesome. By the way, 2 quick notes. One, when he says it's a peacekeeping thing, I'm like, is anybody really gonna believe that this thing with the 4 prongs on his back and the evil looking
freaking
helmet is
lasers.
Peacekeeping? Yeah, come on, guys. Also, when hearing you say all this stuff, Max, it makes me really wish they worked on that character dynamic between Hank Pym and him more.
Yep, it should have been worth a bit more.
It was so brilliant. That one line, just whatever. Sorry. Sigh.
I mean, yeah. Let's see. The other villain, the Hydra guy. That's
that's fine.
He's nothing. Yeah, he was just there.
I think we can move on. A quick note, Judy Greer, I always love Judy Greer. And then her fiance,
Bobby Cannavale.
Yeah, I like that they started him as just like the
jerk
in
Spy?
Guy.
Am I crazy? Is he in Spy?
Yeah, no.
I think he has a moment. I don't think he's a major character.
World, though.
That's where I recognize.
Yes, that's where she is.
So, but this will not be the last time we see her.
Yeah.
There's a reference. You should see Arrested Development. She's in it. She's hilarious. And she's in Archer, and Archer's hilarious. So go watch Arrested Development and Archer to see the comedic.
Anyway,
and then I like that the fiance like started as like, I'm the jerk that's stealing the wife, but then he turned out like he was a good guy, and like they didn't. I like that they didn't like make him a bad guy. He was good.
Yeah,
he's a decent guy. He came around to liking Scott, and it was good.
Child actress is good.
Yeah, surprisingly.
Yeah, a lot of personality.
Yep, it's nice. Good. It's hard to get child actors, especially because she was younger than most child actors, like really young. So good for them. We should move on. This has been taking a while. I'm going to move at a faster pace. Let's really quickly do plot. I think just my thoughts can really be summed up with this felt like when I walked into this, I was thinking, oh, thank God that they're done with origin stories. Because I think it does move slow in a lot of spots because it's an origin story. Like the montage of how to learn the powers, the first time using powers freak out scene, all these things that like 30 minutes of unpowered following around the character. I just want to get him in the suit. I want to get him superheroing.
Yeah.
I'm done with origin stories. Marvel's done with origin stories, so we can move on. But for me, it did bog it down.
Yeah.
The plot's pacing.
I guess I'll just, again, rephrase, as I mentioned, I think the movie takes a little too long to get started just because it has to establish all this stuff. Similarly to what you said, Sean, about the whole montage where he go through the suit with the bathtub, which was a great montage.
Which by the way is fine, but it just felt like this is this kind of stuff we've seen every origin movie do. Like this is the Tony Stark first flight scene.
Yeah,
this is the Captain America chasing the Hydra agent Thorin scene. Is that funny? That's Richard Armitage.
Oh, that's funny. And while we're at, if we're talking about plots, I was praying they wouldn't do this. They had to do stupid little romance.
Yeah,
I don't know why they shoved that in at the end.
She's such a good just a good cold shoulder kind of woman. Like, and she just go. I don't want to. There's so many tropes this movie falls into. So many stereotypes and tropes. I don't know.
It happens, man. Before we move on, I just want to quickly say it because me and Sean had this disagreement. I don't want to have to talk about it all that much, but I like how Ant-Man was a very self-contained story that while it incorporates elements from the MCU... It feels
very organic to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You had a good way to say it.
Yeah, my way of saying it was, this is the first Marvel movie that is in the MCU. It isn't the MCU. Because, like, Captain America doing these epic battles against Hydra, or Iron Man, creating this technology that's changing the world, or Thor, like, with his Asgard stuff, like, that creates the MCU. Every movie that we've seen has added this new big element to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This one is just a guy that lives in this crazy world they created, who just stumbles across part of it.
Yeah.
Like, I love the scene where there's like, the first thing we should do is call in the Avengers.
Yeah. And
it was so casual.
It
was just dropped. And that's what the MCU is. Everyone living there just has to live in the shadow of the Avengers and stuff.
Yeah.
And this was the first time that it actually happened just like in this world.
Yeah, finally did that stupid question everybody wants to ask is like, during any conflict in any Marvel movie that isn't the Avengers, it's like, why don't you just call the Avengers?
And they had a good reason this time, yeah.
Yeah, like, and while we're at it, I guess we didn't get to talk about this, but seeing Falcon was a delight.
Even if Falcon was cool to jump in.
Absolutely.
Gosh dang, Twitter spoiled it for me. It was still lovely to see him, because he's my favorite character in the MCU, and so it was just great to see him. It's like, I don't want to say this is what he was doing during Age of Ultron, but I can see how he may have been like in Phase 2 too much, and so they just like kind of left War Machine to do Age of Ultron while they let Falcon do Ant-Man.
Yeah,
it was nice. It was not too long. It was like a cool fight between two superheroes, kind of like supposed to be something of a successor to the Iron Man versus Thor, but just like on kind of second tier of well-known superheroes. Yeah. So I enjoyed that a lot. I just want to say I liked how they just like, he has to go on a mission, and it's like it actually turned out to be Avengers Tower. I think it was brilliant.
Or Complex, whatever it's
Avengers
the headquarters. Yeah.
I nerded out when I saw Falcon. It was crazy, but honestly, I nerded out just as much when I saw Agent Carter in the beginning.
Yeah,
I was like,
did that.
What?
I had no idea that was going to happen.
This movie is so, and I like that it is integrated into the Marvel Cinematic Universe well, and it's not crazy about it, but still, they introduce things, but they do a good job in incorporating them and just sort of talking about them enough so that if somebody wasn't watching the MCU, they're just like, oh, okay, these Avengers are these big people. I mean, we kind of assume that. They have their own big buildings, there's some rivalry going on. It's enough that the story still feels self-contained, and plus it doesn't rely on it that much. It doesn't rely on those elements, and there's enough comedy in the Falcon scene for me to forget the fact that who the hell is this guy anyway. So it's a nice mix, and I'm hoping that Marvel movies continue to have that mix.
Yeah, and of course, well, wait, should we get to like Easter? Like, should we do like quickly
at the Easter eggs? Let's do comedy.
Okay, yeah.
Well, because plot we're pretty much done, and again, it says something that we're so quick on plot. Again, it's a pretty straightforward plot. Actually, I do have a good point. I can't believe I forgot. One of my bigger problems with this movie is that it is a superhero heist movie, and there are a lot of cool, interesting things that can only be done because it is a superhero movie, like how they get into the building through the water main on like a raft of ants. It has to be like Ocean's 14 ain't going to do that. You know what I'm saying? Mission Impossible 6 isn't going to do that either. But take away the superhero stuff at the basic level, this is a really standard heist movie. And so maybe that's one of the reasons I wasn't super into it, because the superhero element isn't quite unique enough to bring up what is very much a by-the-numbers heist movie, like the training montage. The last minute, oh no, something's changed, they have to improvise. The last minute deactivating of the laser field. Like, it's a standard heist movie with a little superhero layer. This is a little, like, smeared on there. There's a car outside you might be able to hear. Anyway.
Yeah. I disagree with that. I think the superhero layer does that enough to make
that's
it,
a little bit. I don't want to deny that. Like, obviously, again, this is stuff that couldn't be done if it wasn't car, leave. Thank you.
Shout outs to the car.
If you're listening, that would be fun. If this guy's listening, he's like, oh, they know me. Anyway, I would have liked a little bit more uniqueness to the basic heist elements. And I wonder if Edgar Wright would have spiced it up a bit with his style.
Would have.
No, I mean, but again, it might have just been a problem with like the bare elements. It's a very standard.
I want to say,
movie.
Of course he would have. I'm not saying that as an Edgar Wright super fan. I just know how his style works and know that he would probably have done it either much differently or quicker. Like, he would have just been like, bam, bam, bam. I want to talk about that later.
He's like, bam, bam, bam.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was my last thing on plot. Are we all done with plot?
Yeah.
It's pretty simple. I wish it was a little more unique with the superhero stuff, but whatever. Next up is comedy. We've touched on it mostly, so we can really quickly.
I thought we just.
Not really. We just mentioned like.
Oh, actually, while we're here, can I just add? There was a really weird like joke that actually just did not land. Like, it didn't make anybody laugh. I think his name is Dave, and like in the climax, he's like, "I just saw what is it?" He says like, "I just saw a black guy who looked just like me walking down stealing." Like he made it really strangely like. I don't want to say it's like racy, but it was just very like
For me, this when the comedy hits, it's good, but it feels like it's a bit too much. Like it's an audio podcast.
It's Adam McKay. That's what it is.
It's a wink to the audience. It's like too much. Like it's too forceful and too like hamming it up with like the joke. Like the whole "I'm gonna go make tea." It felt like Friends. Like that's a joke you can do in Friends, and like the MCU is a little darker than Friends. So it just, for me, the comedy worked a lot of the time. Again, Michael Pena was very funny. There were a lot of funny lines. Michael Douglas, "How's your face?" Again, that actually made me laugh, and pulling off that line and making me laugh at that line is very impressive. So well done, Michael Douglas. I know, also a big fan of ours, by the way, Michael Douglas. So shout out. So yeah, I don't think the comedy was always that great. I think it was more forceful and hammy than most Marvel comedies. So
but I think it still hit when it hit. Like it was really funny when it tried, except
also,
for that weird.
It's going to be a pretty hilarious juxtaposition once we hit Civil War, because that is not going to be the bright in your face comedy. That's going to be dark. People are going to be dying anyway.
Yeah, I think with Max, you mentioned McKay because he took the script after Wright, I believe. And I mentioned in the beginning that this film's humor is very different from past Marvel movies. Instead of like kind of the quick wit that we see from like Tony Stark and like Captain America and all that, instead we get kind of these awkward moments of long pauses.
Yeah, maybe it wasn't very Marvel-y humor.
Yeah, it's not Marvel-y humor at all.
It felt a lot more like Judd Apatow or Kevin Goldberg or that, those kind of more romantic comedy kind of stuff. Even though like that's not what this movie is. It's just it comes from that same like Seth Rogen, like just very much like
the
based
awkward comedy. I think that's kind of what it is. It's more
but not
awkward.
Steve Carell kind of awkward comedy.
Not like that. That's because like Marvel, I'll kind of categorize it like this. Marvel is very quick wit comedy. That's kind of a lot of its basis in a lot of its movies.
Yeah, Joss Whedon is like known for his funny banter.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of British comedies are like that too. Quick wit, very quick lines being thrown at one another with great timing. This movie's more like we're awkward. Our lives are awkward. Let's have long pauses and stuttering and just sort of odd moments with no music that just sort of make it seem like we're awkward. And
I wanted to see Paul. I think I would have enjoyed this movie more if Paul Rudd was a little bit funny. Like had more chances to be funny, because like it's not often, and then when it happens, it's really funny. So maybe that would have helped.
I think the movie's very funny. I think there's a lot of great jokes.
I just think maybe I would have enjoyed more if it was like a little more humor focused, because.
I guess so, but I mean, I think there aren't many moments, in my opinion, when it doesn't hit. I think there are a lot of great. I think just with the combination of Pena and Rudd and Douglas, and even at times the other guys, the other henchman dudes, the Russian guy and then the other black guy was his henchman. I think it's a great combination, and there are some good timing moments. And even with the awkward stuff, I think that again, this movie's likable enough in the sense that we can overcome that and move on to the next scene. If it is awkward. Mm-hmm.
So we're done with comedy, yes?
Yeah. So where do we go from here?
Honestly, I mean, action really quick. We've kind of touched on that.
Very creative, very good. Just
very unique, perfectly executed with this concept.
I disagree.
I loved it.
Really?
Oh, come on,
I really,
man.
That's probably my favorite part of the movie.
I think it was a little too fast. I wanted to see like, I don't know, I wanted to see a bit more like what he was doing, like slow motion shrinking, and like I wanted a bit more. It was good.
We got two slow motion shrinking.
I think when we get him in Civil War with two directors that are better at action than I think this movie was, I'm gonna like his action scenes more. Brothers. Yes. So we'll see. I wasn't blown away. It's not like I disliked them, but I wish I could have enjoyed them more.
I don't know, bro. I'm telling you, this movie's action, it hit.
I think the only action sequence this movie was missing was a war between a bunch of ants and a bunch of Yellow Jackets.
Ooh, that would be cool.
I guess so.
That would have been amazing. Like, I'm not talking about the Yellow Jacket suits. I'm talking about actual Yellow Jacket things.
Yeah, I'm also like the huge Thomas the Tank Engine man.
Oh, that was funny. Yeah,
that
the tank thing. It's like it's not a keychain.
That was funny.
It's like
I mean, this concept is so. I think it's a very different Marvel concept. No longer are we dealing with like Captain America fisticuffs or Iron Man air battles. We're dealing with one guy, one dude. Most of the action scenes are just one guy, really small, maneuvering around the world. And I think the way that they shrink him down and they just sort of let us see the world from a new perspective, I think it hits every time. And I think it was just, and that last battle is one of the best action scenes we've gotten from Marvel. I think.
Yeah,
it's
it's really good.
fantastic.
I think it just reminds me, like, I know that this is, now that I think about it more, I think this movie does make a lot of shots at Marvel tropes. Now that I think about it, there's like there's during the action sequence with like there's a great thing. Now that I'm thinking about it, I think this movie is meta in just the sense that it's very much like, it's like, hey, no, it's not like a super meta narrative. It's just like meta jokes at just pulling at Marvel's leg. And one of them is like during the end of like the second action beat in the climax, like, you know, he flicks him with a ping pong ball and
he just swats Yellow Jacket
That's
away.
basically how Marvel usually treats its villains. It's like, hey, here's the hero all big front and center, and there's the villain. He's going, okay, he's gone. We don't have to worry about him anymore. But I think just like more stuff like that. Just and how Hank Pym says, "I'm not going to die." Just he doesn't even like. Yeah. There's not even a moment where he's like, "Oh, he might die." He's just like, "I'm not going to die. I have a tank keychain." But,
I got a contract with Marvel for 3 more movies.
Does he?
I don't know. It's just a joke. Come on, Max.
Okay. Here. I will. Can we? Okay, I know this is not action. We have to talk about one of the weirdest sequences in the Marvel Cinematic Universe when he goes into the quantum realm.
He goes till 2001.
Yeah.
Oh my god! I thought the exact same thing.
Yeah,
we're on the same wavelength, bro.
And it was weird, unique. I liked it, but it was also just whoa.
Yeah, but I thought that was awesome.
This is weird.
I thought it was so cool. I mean, this kind of ties into something that I said in the earlier thing. I think there are a couple of tonal issues, but they're very small. They're not like it's not like one huge scene versus one huge scene. It's sort of moments like that where there like might be some jokes that will happen, but then they'll get really dark and they'll just kind of go back to being like comedic again. That moment, though, in my opinion, is just such a stark, different moment for me that I was just like the entire movie theater was silent. When we were when it was silence, it was just.
Well, it usually should be silent, Larry.
Well, I mean, no, but I mean, like usually you'll hear the occasional whisper or the candy wrapper or something like that. This is just nothing.
Yeah. Okay. The whole like little sounds thing, like when there's just nothing. That okay, I can see that. But I mean, I like the sequence. I want to be clear. It was just a very weird, awesome. Very like non-Marvel sequence, and considering the fact that from what you told me, Sean, it's going to be like basically that's where Doctor Strange hangs out.
Well, no, that's the magic in the as I understand it, magic in the Marvel universe is based off quantum reality and stuff, quantum like quantum physics and all that stuff.
You just add quantum to the beginning of anything, and it gets really weird sci-fi stuff.
Yeah, so I was actually expecting Doctor Strange to pop in, and I thought they were going to blow people's minds.
You need to go home.
Yeah, he's just like chilling on the slab. I was like.
That would have probably been the best way to introduce Doctor Strange because we haven't seen Benedict Cumberbatch in a costume or anything like that. It would just be like, oh my god! But that's okay.
We have 2 more things to talk about.
2 more things?
Yeah. You want to talk about the Edgar Wright stuff?
Yeah.
And we also really quickly, because we're Marvel nerds, I want to address the post-credit scene.
Just a few Easter eggs that we saw here and there.
Yeah. Why don't you start, Max, with your Edgar Wright thing?
All right. So
be quick though.
Okay, so if you don't know,
they know. Just get to it.
So I found out recently that supposedly Edgar Wright actually left because so what happened is he wrote a script, he was really confident in it, he gave it to the Marvel executives. They're like, okay, we'll just give it to the Disney execs and see if they approve. They did not. They brought in a few revisionist people, revised it. Edgar Wright saw the finished product of the revised script, and he's like, "No, I'm out of here." So that's why he left. Supposedly, the revised script actually incorporates the Marvel Cinematic Universe a lot more, and so this is what the product looks like. But I still think that this whole movie it ties into what I think may have been gone wrong, is that this movie does not feel like a top-tier Marvel-made movie. I'm not talking about quality, I'm talking about production, because one of my big problems with this movie that I never got to mention until now is it's very ugly. The movie's very ugly.
I don't understand that point.
I think the cinematography is bland.
The cinematography is super bland, the lighting is flat, the editing is actually like really kind of juvenile. It's just 2 people talking, cut back and forth, and it's like not invisible at all. The whole, like visually, not from a visual effects standpoint, because those are wonderful, as they always are from their holiness ILM. But what like the whole, like the rest of the movie is just so like, ew. It's so it feels desaturated, but not in like a thematic way. And I think Edgar Wright would have changed that. Of course, if you want to see Ant-Man directed by Edgar Wright, you just watch like either of Michael Peña's weird flashback scenes. But the point is, I think maybe I didn't want to say this, but I think this movie would have been a lot better if they just let Edgar Wright do his thing. I know that will never happen, and we may never see the
also
Ant-Man
agree,
script that
probably
he wrote. But I just wish we could have seen that. So I'm glad I got to incorporate that. This is cinematography. Yeah. I thought I wouldn't incorporate that.
Yeah, I forgot. I'm glad you brought it up.
I don't know. I didn't notice.
Peyton Reed's not bad. Okay, I want to say Peyton Reed's not a bad director. I think Edgar Wright would have had a lot more personality than this. He worked on it for like 8 years. Yeah. He probably had like a good idea. Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't really notice the cinematography. Maybe because I'm not a film student yet, and I just don't really look at that stuff that much. But
you will be.
I don't know. I didn't notice it, but I definitely noticed that this film at times feels like an Edgar Wright movie with Marvel clothing. And
like twice. There's no other way. I'm sorry. I'm not okay. Dang. Okay.
I didn't want this to go too long, but go
ahead.
Well,
I
don't want to sound like I'm just a huge Edgar Wright fanboy because honestly, he's not. I don't think he's my favorite director anymore. I'm still debating that. But the point is, just this does not like the few times that I do see Edgar Wright's admitted genius come in. Everything else just feels very like hollow and sort of like not based on any sort of style whatsoever. I don't think this is an Edgar Wright movie at all.
All right, then let's look at the future. Post-credit scene. There's not a lot to say. Well, Max is going to raise some.
Let me say, I liked how they referenced Spider-Man.
Yes, they did drop Spider-Man.
Little thing right in there, just like right in there. You're like, they say Wallcrawler, like there's Iron Man's not a Wallcrawler.
Well, actually,
he could be a Wallcrawler.
I actually read about this. Apparently, that reference isn't really a reference at all. They didn't when that was written and when the film was being shot, the deal hadn't been made.
Well, they knew. There's no way that wasn't a nod to Spider-Man.
Well, it was a nod to Spider-Man, but maybe not in the universe.
The actual post-credit scene, what do we really have to say about the first one? It's Wasp. Like, it's cool that Wasp came in. We already mentioned it. I'm looking forward to seeing Wasp. She probably won't be in Civil War, but she'll definitely be like Infinity War. And if there's another Ant-Man movie, she'll definitely be there.
She's a Wasp movie. Let's just get a Wasp movie.
She can jump into the Inhumans. She can jump into Black Panther.
Yeah,
whatever.
The suit looks great. I just wish they weren't teasing us with it for like the whole movie. Just it could have been like a surprise. Like they could have written her as like not so much like I could do this, even though she could. And like now, at the end, it's like, oh my god, now we're gonna need a Wasp movie instead of feeling like, oh my god, we're finally getting a Wasp role at some point.
Yeah. Well, so Larry, do you have anything? I don't think you would.
I really like the post-credit scene. I like how it was sort of a nod. I don't get why Max is so upset about it.
No, he will be upset on the second one for some reason.
Yeah.
Oh, so that other one. Oh, okay.
It's funny because the second post-credit scene is not Ant-Man at all.
No, not at all.
We were given a sequence from Captain America: Civil War.
Yeah, we were given an actual moment.
Yeah.
So
you could tell, too, because of the aspect ratio of the scene and everything.
Aspect ratio changed. The visual look looks way different / better. And it's Captain. And it's Falcon. And
Captain Falcon.
Captain Falcon. It's Captain, it's Falcon, it's Buki.
Yeah.
I mean, Buki's in Ant-Man. Who saw that coming? He's not. I don't count it as in the movie. It's Civil War. So I'm just going to say, this is very interesting that they're grabbing a scene from their next movie as post-credits. It barely ties in, but I think it's kind of fun that Sam Wilson's like, I know a guy, and then the text appears, Ant-Man will return. That was a fun way to tie it in. And it was fine and interesting in the way that it was from another movie. Larry, do you have anything quick before Max explodes?
I concur with Sean.
All right, Max, explode.
My explode is not worth the trouble. So, let me start with this. Stupid. The whole thing is stupid. It's a lazy attempt. It's okay. I'm gonna be honest. I had my expectations built up. Somebody told me it was the best one. I just got it in my head. I tried not to, but I just did. Maybe that's why this thing kind of angers me because it's not like even clever. It's just here's a scene from the next movie. Oh, you could maybe see that Ant-Man was referenced a little bit in there.
It was
maybe.
I know a guy.
It was direct.
Sam Wilson may know lots of guys.
No, but that cannot be your argument. They are obviously. He's obviously talking about.
Yeah. Okay. The thing is, there's so much there's so much in here that is just not so much asking for a question as much asking for like clarification. It's like all the things that are said are so vague that they just feel so detached. This is not a standalone scene. This is just like if you pasted up. It's like if it's a comic book, you pasted a page from another comic book on there and say, hey. Ant-Man's also in this comic book too. It's so lazy and so blatant and so like exactly what all the critics whine about when they talk about Marvel movies.
Disagree. Strongly disagree. I don't know where you're getting all this from. This is okay. First of all, Cap and Falcon. No, Cap and Falcon are clearly talking about the Civil War argument when they're talking. It is so clear right from the get-go.
Bucky. That's
and Falcon is talking about Ant-Man. It is
Okay,
directly.
that's not what I'm talking about. Why are they there? Why is like Bucky just not doing anything?
Oh my. Okay, why was Coulson there when he found the hammer after that
Nick
other
Fury
movie?
sent him.
Yeah, this one is just like what they're talking about is very vaguely just. I mean, I guess about the conflict, but no, it's like we found Bucky. Okay, we can't trust Stark.
I will always call him Buki.
Okay, I don't want to elaborate on this too much because we're not going to do a
sure.
freaking Ant-Man aftermath podcast or whatever. But
no, some have.
But like it's the whole thing just feels like let's just take something from another movie and just put it in. And it feels so blatant. It's not even like clever anymore.
Well, I would just retort with at least it wasn't the first Captain America movie, and the post-credit scene was a literal trailer for the Avengers.
Yes, however, it began with a scene that was like
still this at
yes,
least
but this was just like
it's not a trailer. It was a clip from a movie, and it did have something to do with Ant-Man. Anyway, I also don't want to go on this, Max. You're kind of repeating yourself.
I don't care.
Does that close our discussion? I mean, I kind of want like closing comments really quick. Do we want to do that? Like, I just want to reiterate that this is a fine movie. I like this negative. This review. I did not come across negative, but I am not like super into it. It's fine. It's enjoyable. I don't know if I want to see it a third time. It's fine. It's kind of like the Marvel movie, where it's kind of like checking the boxes of a Marvel movie, and that's fine. But because of that, it actually lacks the Marvel magic. It doesn't feel as Marvel because it's trying to be everything Marvel, I guess, if that makes sense. So yeah, anyway, again, to restate, it's a 6 to a 6.5 out of 10, somewhere in there. Probably closer to the 6, but it depends on my mood. So
I don't know, man. I'm really positive. I'm a beaming light of
Okay,
positivity.
Okay, closing comment. I think I'm gonna like this movie a lot more when I see it again when it comes out on Blu-ray. I'm probably gonna watch it again. I'm gonna be like, I like this movie a lot more than I did the first time. So, I mean, I hope so. I would like to. I enjoy liking movies, but yeah, I would say that this movie is Ant-Man is man, but
man.
Yeah. I would say Ant-Man, but that sounds like Ant-Man, which is weird because Ant-Man is not
a different thing. Yeah.
But yeah, I just.
I
wouldn't say I was disappointed because I didn't know what to expect from this movie after all of its stuff. So, take with that what you will. You're probably gonna go see anyway. Whatever.
Yeah.
Please go see Ant-Man. I really had a lot of fun watching this movie. I'm just kind of I'm getting down because you guys are just like, it's okay, and I'm just like, I really liked it. I really enjoyed this movie, and I'm kind of, I don't know. I think there are some people out there who are just
marry him.
But I don't know. I mean, like, obviously it's your opinion. I respect that, and you have the right to have your opinion. But I just think there's this, I don't know, maybe I've been reading a couple articles about it, some think pieces about Ant-Man that are just really trashing it. And I'm just like, I'm really sick.
It's not a bad movie.
Yeah, I'm sick of people trashing this movie just because it's cliche or because there are some things that have been done before. I think a big point that, Sean, you also agree with this too. We were talking about this with Oblivion a little bit also. Movies can have cliches and not be bad. I think that's a very important idea.
Here, let me say this. Civil War is going to be insane with the number of characters.
It's going to be awesome.
Doctor Strange is going to be something this totally new dynamic, and magic's going to be a thing, and it's a new character. Wow. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 is going to be unique because we have this director writing it. James Gunn has very unique style, very unique characters, very unique part of the MCU. Thor Ragnarok is going to be huge in like its scope and all that. This is really the only time Marvel's going to be coasting. I don't think it has the opportunity to coast again, because then we hit Infinity War. So I think I'm totally fine with a fine Marvel movie. I think they're going to get in high gear later, but for now, I think this was just fine. So
you say it's fine, and now we're going to do the end or
bygones be bygones.
So that
I am not a bygone.
That ends our Ant-Man review. And so now we are going to transition right away to this new fun thing we do, the Fantasy Movie League segment. Max, why don't you host this week's?
Okay, so this week on the Fantasy Movie League, we had some interesting results. Results that I personally do not approve of, but I will stand by and say, Larry and Sean, you guys completely destroyed me. By completely, I mean by 4 million. Both of you got so close, so like neck and neck by about, you guys were apart by about $200,000. Just that's it, $200K. But unfortunately, the man, the myth, okay, he's not a myth, Larry, Movie Fun Time came in with $115,766,000 and 691. As in $115,666,691.
That is actually what it was, not the other thing that I just said. Sean, you got so close with 115 mil, but you only got to 536,748. Pick up your game next time, like I will, because I only got 111,956,771, which is kind of lame, but it's okay. I'll make a comeback. Unfortunately, a WoW finish, Lame Chick Flicks, our Art Complex, and the Unisys Playhouse all had 0. So, guys, you gotta jump on that. You gotta get your submissions in, get your picks, so we can all be on this and like destroy each other in financial box office records. I don't know. So, overall, I would say that Cinemax still holds the top. I've held the top all summer. And that will continue until the end of time. Citation needed. Citizens of the World Cinemas is still in second. Movie Fun Time is in third. Unisys Playhouse, Lame Chick Flicks, our Art Cineplex, and WoW finish. Fourth, fifth, sixth. So, Larry, tell me, what are your picks for this week?
Well, there are so many different movies out right now in the theaters that I think really the best choice would be to diversify. So that's what I'm pretty much doing in my theater this week. You have one Pixel screening, one Ant-Man screening, one Paper Town screening, one Minions screening, then 2 Inside Out screenings, and then I have a Terminator Genesis screening, and as my special little extra, Mr. Holmes I'm adding to my theater as well, because I'm actually hearing it's doing quite well. It's been expanding to several more theaters, and it's surprisingly doing fantastic at the box office. So I'm going to add that one as well. So those are my picks, and here's hope I get number 1 again next week.
All right, not bad. All right, Sean, tell me about your picks.
Okay, well, I actually have a weird feeling that Pixels is actually going to kind of bomb and not do very well. And it just kind of freed up some money. I don't know. I felt like not picking it. So it's a little weird, but I've got Ant-Man. 2 Paper Towns because angsty teens exist. 2 Minions because kids exist. 2 Inside Out because the heart exists. And I love that movie. And then 1 for Mr. Holmes because Ian McKellen exists. Thank God. Anyway, those are my picks.
All right, cool. That was totally interesting in every way. Okay, so for me, I'm going to place my bets on only one movie that's releasing this coming week, and then the rest of the stuff is all from last week. I got 2 Ant-Man screenings, 2 Trainwreck screenings, 1 Minion screening, and this week's new entry, ba-bam! It's Paper Towns. I believe that the John Green adaptation will do very, very well, even against stuff like Ant-Man and Pixels, which I guess is also happening. I don't know. We're doing, yeah. So that'll be fun. But, till next time, remember, if you want to be a part of this, head on fantasymovieleague.com and sign up for an account. We're not sponsored or anything. We just like doing this. And look for us, the Rule Thirds League. We have our own little private league. The password is cinemattack. That's cinem and then attack. Not cinnamon, cinemattack.
Anyway, that's it for us today on Rule Thirds. Next week, we don't really know what we're doing yet. It's kind of a mess. We're in disagreement. It's most likely going to be Pixels. Most likely going to be a review of Pixels. Andy Samberg, Peter Dinklage, Josh Gad, Peter
Samberg?
And Andy Samberg. Adam Sandler.
Adam Samberg. Yeah.
And Adam Sandler. I don't know.
Anyway, until then, whatever we end up doing, thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed it. We hope you enjoy Ant-Man, of course, but those are our thoughts. Max and I weren't totally on board. Larry was, but...
I'm so on board.
Yeah, we're going to wrap this up. Thank you for joining us. And as always, we appreciate your comments on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, however you want to leave it.
And email, just all the emails that we get from you guys.
Literally no
just
emails,
all that. That's the joke, Sean.
And anyway, you will hopefully tune in next time. But until then, my name is Sean.
My name is Larry.
And my name is Matt.
And he's bummed out, apparently.
No, I'm tired, dude. I didn't get any sleep last night.
Yeah, but anyway, thanks again for watching, and you'll hear us later.